Somewhere in the wilderness of Washington state lies a hole that no one can explain. A hole that seems to have no bottom, no echo, and no official record of ever existing. Locals say it swallows everything, trash, appliances, even animals, without a single sound. Others whisper that the government fenced it off years ago, and that anyone who goes looking for it disappears. In 1997, a man named Mel Waters called into a late-night radio show and claimed the impossible. He had found a bottomless pit on his property, a pit that defied the laws of physics and maybe even the laws of reality itself. Since then, the story of Mel's hole has become one of the most chilling modern legends in America, a mystery tangled in secrecy, science, and shadowy government control. But what if it wasn't just a story? What if something real was buried out there, something the world was never meant to see? Before we go any deeper into the abyss, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us uncover more of the hidden, the forbidden, and the unexplained, the stories that someone doesn't want you to hear, and the mystery of Mel's hole, the bottomless secret of Washington state. In the mid-1990s, America was obsessed with the unexplained. Before social media, before viral videos, there was only the radio. And one show ruled the night. Coast to Hostes Asmeam, hosted by the legendary Art Bell, was the voice of the strange. Each night, millions of listeners tuned in from dark bedrooms and lonely highways to hear stories of UFOs, ghosts, secret bases, and things that defied logic. But on February 21st, 1997, a man called in with a story so unbelievable that even Bell himself was caught off guard. He said his name was Mel Waters. He sounded calm, sincere, not like the typical conspiracy caller. He explained that he owned property near Ellensburg, Washington, and that on this land there was a hole, a perfectly round hole about 9 feet across, lined with old bricks or stones. Locals, he said, had known about it for decades. They used it as a dumping site. Broken televisions, refrigerators, furniture, even animal carcasses. But no matter what they threw in, there was never a sound. No echo, no crash, no splash. It was as if the hole swallowed everything, even the noise itself. Mel claimed he grew curious. He decided to measure how deep it went. He tied a fishing line to a 1-pound lead weight and began lowering it in. 100 feet. 200. At 1,000. He ran out of line, so he bought more, and more, and more. By the time he'd lowered 80,000 feet of line, about more than 15 miles, he still hadn't hit bottom. He said the line hung freely, no resistance, no end. For comparison, the deepest hole ever drilled by humans, the Kola super deep borehole in Russia, goes only about 7.5 miles down. Mel's hole was more than twice that depth. To listeners, the story was mesmerizing. Thus, Art Bell, known for giving his guests freedom to speak, let Mel talk. The call went on for nearly an hour. By the end, thousands of people across America were glued to their radios, wondering, could a bottomless pit really exist in Washington state? After that night, Mel became an instant mystery celebrity. People tried to track him down, find his property, locate the hole. Newspapers reported that curious locals were already searching the hills near Ellensburg, but no one found anything. Still, Mel's story didn't stop there. It was only the beginning, because what happened next would turn a simple radio story into one of the strangest government conspiracies of the decade. After Mel's call went viral across the country, something strange began to happen. Within days, people claimed the area near Ellensburg, Washington, was crawling with unfamiliar activity. Black SUVs on empty roads, low-flying helicopters over such bridges, unmarked trucks parked near private property, and then Mel himself disappeared from the airwaves. Weeks later, he resurfaced with a chilling update. He told Art Bell that shortly after his radio appearance, his property had been taken over by government officials. He said they identified themselves as members of the U.S. Air Force, but they refused to show identification. They told him that there had been a plane crash near his land, and that his property was now part of a temporary environmental study zone. But Mel said there was no wreckage, no debris, nothing that looked like a crash. Still, the men were armed, and they made it clear he wasn't welcome there anymore. According to Mel, they offered him a deal. In exchange for giving up access to his land, and keeping quiet about the hole, he'd receive a monthly government payment and he'd be free to move anywhere he wanted. Mel claimed he accepted, reluctantly, and left the country for Australia. But when he tried to come back months later, everything went wrong. He told Bell that when he landed in the United States, he was detained by federal agents. They searched his belongings, confiscated his identification, and questioned him about his property. Then, Vasquez. When he finally regained consciousness, he was on a bus in San Francisco wearing a different set of clothes and with months of his life completely missing from memory. He said he didn't remember leaving Australia, didn't remember the flight, didn't even know how he ended up in California. And the government payments, they had stopped. When he tried to go back to his property, he found new fences, no trespassing signs, and armed guards stationed near the area. The locals who once told stories about the hole refused to talk to him. Some even said they'd never met anyone named Mel Waters. That's when the conspiracy theories exploded. Was Mel's hole a top-secret government site, something they'd been using for deep experiments? Was it an underground base, a waste disposal shaft, or perhaps a weapon test zone? Or was it something not man-made at all, something ancient and dangerous that the government had just discovered? Rumors spread fast. People claimed to have seen temporary military tents, sensor equipment, and even strange beams of light coming from the hills. One alleged witness described black light, beams that didn't illuminate, but instead absorbed light around them. It sounded impossible. But then again, so did a bottomless hole. Mel returned to Art Bell's show for several follow-up interviews, each time adding new details. He said that on one visit, near the fenced area, his radio equipment malfunctioned. Compass needles spun wildly. Birds avoided the airspace overhead. And strange metallic sounds echoed from underground, even though no drilling could be seen. To Mel, it was proof that the government had taken control of something powerful, something they didn't want the public to know about. Critics, of course, said he was lying. They pointed out there was no record of any property owned by a Mel Waters near Ellensburg, no police reports, no environmental notices, no Air Force documentation. To skeptics, the entire story was a well-crafted hoax, one that preyed on the public's appetite for mystery and distrust of authority. But believers asked a different question. If it was all fake, then why did the government respond at all? Why the fences, the guards, the silence? Mel's final appearance on Coast to Coast AM came in 2002. He said he was being watched, followed, and harassed. Then he vanished completely. No trace, no forwarding address, nothing. To this day, no one knows who Mel Waters really was, or what was really at the bottom of that hole in Washington state. Over the years, countless theories have emerged trying to explain what Mel's hole could actually be. Some sound scientific, others sound like pure science fiction. But all of them share one thing in common: a deep fear that something unnatural is buried beneath the earth of Washington state. Some say it was a geological anomaly, a natural sinkhole or volcanic vent. But no known natural formation matches Mel's description. At 15 miles deep, it would collapse under its own weight. Others believe it was a secret government facility, part of classified drilling projects or weapons research, maybe even an energy experiment gone wrong. Oh no. Then there are those who believe Mel's hole was something far more mysterious, a portal between worlds, a rift in time and space, stories of animals returning from the dead, objects vanishing without a trace. They sound impossible, but for believers, they're proof that the hole wasn't just deep, it was interdimensional. Some go further still, claiming it was the source of limitless energy, or a black hole on Earth, something that could absorb matter, energy, even light. If that's true, then it would explain everything. The government takeover, the secrecy, the disappearance. And finally, the skeptics. They argue Mel's hole was never real, just a clever hoax, perfectly timed for the golden age of talk radio. No records, no witnesses, no hole. It's just a story so compelling it outlived its creator. After Mel's final interview, he vanished completely. Art Bell tried to contact him several times, but Mel's phone number stopped working. Emails bounced back. Even people who had claimed to know him in Washington stopped answering questions. In the years that followed, strange reports surfaced from the Ellensburg region, malfunctioning electronics, magnetic interference, and fenced-off areas appearing on public land. Some explorers even claimed that for a brief time, a perfect black circle appeared on Google Earth near Ellensburg before being quietly replaced. Whether coincidence or cover-up, the legend lived on, and like every great mystery, the less proof there was, the stronger it became. The story of Mel's Hole isn't just about a bottomless pit. It's about curiosity, fear, and the human obsession with the unknown. It's a story that mirrors ancient myths, the abyss, the underworld, the forbidden. It's the same story humanity has been telling for thousands of years. Only this time, it happened on the radio. Maybe the hole was never real. Maybe Mel Waters never existed. But the idea of the hole, the belief that there are still places in the world we can't explain, that's very real. And that's why the legend endures. Because even now, somewhere in the dark hills of Washington, people still claim to hear strange hums coming from deep underground. Maybe it's wind, maybe it's nothing. Or maybe, just maybe, the hole is still there, waiting. And so we're left with one question, the same question that's haunted the story for nearly 3 decades. It's in what lies beneath. Was Mel's Hole a government experiment gone wrong, a doorway to another dimension, or just the most brilliant hoax ever told on late-night radio? Maybe we'll never know. Maybe that's the point. Because some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to remind us that the world still holds shadows, and that not everything buried stays buried. The truth might be waiting in the darkness, silent, endless, and watching. If you've made it this far into the mystery, thank you for watching. Your curiosity keeps these stories alive for us, the stories they don't want you to hear. Before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Most of you who watch our videos still aren't subscribed. And it only takes a second. Join us as we dig deeper into the strange, the hidden, and the unexplained, because somewhere out there, another mystery is waiting. And next time, we might just find it. This was The Mystery of Mel's Hole. Thank you for watching.